Hello friends, welcome to my Bamu's Biogenius channel. Today we will discuss about spermatogenesis. The level of this lecture is for UG and PG. Those who want a neat lecture on spermatogenesis, please visit my another video 3.3 gametogenesis for NEET. So let us talk about the spermatogenesis. So we have to study these topics under the spermatogenesis, that is just definition of a spermatogenesis, then significance of a spermatogenesis, why spermatogenesis is very important, then we have to see site of a spermatogenesis or where this spermatogenesis occurs, then structure of a seminiferous tubule. The structure of a seminiferous tubule includes two parts, that is the germinal epithelium and somatic part, that is Sertoli cells. Then we have to see the blood testis barrier. What is a blood testis barrier? Then the process of a spermatogenesis, actual process of a spermatogenesis involves mitosis and meiosis. Then after that, spermiogenesis, or we can say during the meiosis, spermiogenesis is there. After that, spermiation is there. Then we have to study the structure of a sperm, and then hormonal control of a spermatogenesis, and the last one is the factors affecting the spermatogenesis. So all these points that we have to cover in this topic. See, when we talk about the definition of spermatogenesis, spermatogenesis means what? As the name suggests, sperm and genesis. The production of a sperm, that is called as a spermatogenesis. So the actual definition is like a formation of a male haploid motile gamete from an undifferentiated diploid non-motile spermatogonium, or we can say sperm mother cell. So these non-motile diploid sperm mother cells are present in the basement membrane in a seminiferous tubule, and these sperm mother cells, they give rise to the or we can say they differentiates into a haploid motile gamete that can fertilize the female. So this is the definition of the spermatogenesis. Then what is the significance of a spermatogenesis? The significance of spermatogenesis is that the sperm produced is genetically unique. That means whatever the gene combination that is present in the male gamete or a sperm, that is unique, and that we can say that this unique combination of genes that helps in producing a variation in the next generation. So this is that's why it is called as a genetically unique male gamete. Now this male gamete fertilizes the female gamete, and when it fertilizes the female gamete, it carries n number of chromosomes with it. That means half of the chromosomes that are carried by this male gamete, half of the chromosomes are present in the female gamete. So both of them, they form the zygote, and that zygote is having 2n number of chromosomes. That means it restores the diploid nature of the zygote. So that is why these sperms, or we can say the gametes, are important. These gametes are derived by a special process that is called as a meiosis or meiosis, and with the help of meiosis you can see the chromosome number is halved in the male gamete, or in even in case of a female gamete. So this is the significance of spermatogenesis. It makes the zygote again as a diploid structure. So next is the occurrence or a site of a spermatogenesis. Now you can see here the spermatogenesis occurs in a special kind of a structure that is called as a testes. And these testes, in case of mammals, these testes are located in a special um, a sac-like structure that is called as a scrotum. So this scrotum is has a temperature below the average body temperature. So that temperature is in different animals, that temperature is different, but commonly it is or generally you can say that it is 1 to 8 degree lower than the body temperature. In case of humans, the 2 to 4 degree lower temperature is present in the scrotal sac. Now, it has two functions. One function is synthesis of a hormone, and another function is formation of sperms. And these sperms are formed in a seminiferous tube. Now, if we see the structure of the testes, you can see here the testes. This particular portion is called as the testes, and in these testes there are certain loops of these seminiferous tubules or a tubular like structure that is there, and these are forming a loop like structure. This loop-like structure, these are called as the seminiferous tubules, and these seminiferous tubules internal lining is a germinal epithelium where the spermatogenesis takes place. The diameter of these seminiferous tubules is 200 micrometer, and they are about 600-meter long. So these seminiferous tubules ends in a red testes, and these red testes is in communication with the epididymis, where the sperms that are synthesized in these seminiferous tubules are stored in a epididymis. Now, the seminiferous tubule is made up of two types of tissue. That is, one is a germinal epithelium, and another part is called as a somatic part of the seminiferous tubule. The germinal epithelium consists of various stem cells. These stem cells are responsible for production of sperms. They undergo differentiation via mitosis and meiosis, and they produce the spermatozoa. Then the somatic part of the seminiferous tubule is called as the Sertoli cells. These Sertoli cells were first discovered by Enric Sertoli in 1865, and in honor of this scientist, the name of these cells is Sertoli cells. Now, the Sertoli cells or a somatic part of the seminiferous tubule is responsible for providing the nourishment to the developing spermatozoa. So, in a germinal epithelium, you will find that the different kinds of stages, or we can say the different stages of development of the spermatozoa that can be seen in a germinal epithelium. So uh, you can see here, this is a cross section of a seminiferous tubule, and this in between these seminiferous tubule, uh, interstitial space is there, interstitial tissue is there, where the Leydig cells are present. So these are also called as interstitial cells because they are present in between the tubules. So that's why it is interstitial cells. Along with that, the different myoid cells, then the blood capillaries that are also seen around the seminiferous tubule. Now, at the you can see here this is known as a basement membrane, and near to the basement membrane you can see the stem cells are there. These stem cells are the spermatogonia, or we can say sperm mother cells. Now these stem cells are responsible for undergoing mitosis and producing sperm, or we can say primary spermatocytes. So you can see here primary spermatocytes you can see here. Along with that, primary spermatocytes, certain secondary spermatocytes, then early spermatids can also be seen. Now, these spermatids, primary spermatocytes are embedded in the Sertoli cell. So, this is the nucleus of a Sertoli cell. So, you can see here like this. So, this is the boundary wall of the Sertoli cell. And you can see here the all the stages of development of sperms that are attached with the Sertoli cells. So this is how that the Sertoli cells are responsible for giving nourishment to the developing sperms. Now, for better understanding of a previous diagram, we have drawn this TS schematic architecture of a germinal epithelium of a seminiferous tubule. So, for convenience, I have uh, just drawn only this side of the um, seminiferous tubule. Now, seminiferous tubule is divided into three compartments. The basal compartment is this one, where the stem cells are generally present, or sperm mother cells are present, and these are diploid in nature. Then another compartment is there, that is adluminal compartment. Adluminal means near the lumen, that's why it is called as a adluminal compartment. Here the primary spermatocytes, secondary spermatocytes, spermatids that can be seen along with the spermatozoa. Then in a lumen, you can see a cavity or a lumen is there. It is filled with the fluid that is synthesized by or secreted by the Sertoli cells. So this fluid-filled cavity is called as a lumen, where you can see there are number of free floating, free swimming spermatozoa are present. So these are the three compartments that can be seen inside a seminiferous tubule. The first compartment, basal compartment, shows a mitosis of various sperm mother cells, or spermatogonia. Then adluminal compartment shows the spermatozoa in their different stages of meiosis, and the lumen shows free swimming spermatozoa. Now this lumen leads to the reed testes, and through reed testes it leads to the epididymis, where the sperms are stored, and from these epididymis these sperms are then ejaculated. This is the basic compartmental structure of a seminiferous tubule. Now, what kind of cells that are present, that we will see after enlarging this one. See, the these are, I have already told you that these are the spermatogonium, or a spermatogonia. We can say that the singular spermatogonium, plural spermatogonia. So the this basement membrane, near the basement membrane, you can see uh, spermatogonia of A1 type, then A2 type, then A3 and A4 type. All these are the stem cells, but this spermatogonium stem cell, when divides, it forms two daughter cells. Out of these two daughter cells, one daughter cell uh, develops for spermatogenesis, another daughter cell remains as a stem cell. So it for because of this, you can see there is a steady supply of sperm mother cells for development or for the spermatogenesis. So these are the spermatogonia that are present in the basal compartment. Now you can see here some are having a long nucleus, some are having a pale nucleus, some are having the dark nucleus. So like this you can see the different types of spermatogonia that are present in the seminiferous tubules near the basal region or um, basal compartment near the base of the Sertoli cells. Then you can see here this is called as a tight junction. This two Sertoli cells, they are attached with each other by tight junctions. Now this tight junction is a blood testis barrier. It does not allow, or it separates the basal compartment with the adluminal compartment, and it helps in preventing the blood cells to enter inside the lumen uh, of the seminiferous tube. Now, why this is done? This is done to protect um, the spermatozoa, because spermatozoa has a unique genetic structure, and it also has a unique surface antigens that might be taken as a foreign antigens, and the immune system of our body can attack the developing sperm. So to suppress, or we can say to separate the blood from the testes environment, these tight junctions are very important, and these tight junctions are present in between the Sertoli cells, and this is how that Sertoli cell separates the microenvironment of the seminiferous tubule from the blood. So that's why it is called as the blood testis barrier. Then this spermatogonia differentiates into intermediate spermatogonium. This intermediate spermatogonium differentiates into a primary spermatocyte. You can see here this particular intermediate spermatogonium is differentiating into a primary spermatocyte. So after some time you will see this primary spermatocyte is formed, and these primary spermatocytes now undergo meiosis 1, and when it undergoes meiosis 1, it produces the secondary spermatocyte. Then the secondary spermatocyte again undergoes a meiosis 2 and forms the spermatids. Then these spermatids, you can see here the spermatids that are formed. You can see this is the spermatid that is formed, and this spermatid undergoes a spermiogenesis. So this spermiogenesis means what? Formation of a sperm from a spermatid. Now actually this spermatid is a simple undifferentiated cell, and this simple undifferentiated cell converts into a motile spermatozoa. So this is known as a spermiogenesis. Now while development, the part of the or the spermatid compacts, and it gives rise to the spermatozoa. So while this development, or while the spermiogenesis occurs with the help of Sertoli cells, because the cells, or we can say the spermatozoa or spermatids, they remain attached to the Sertoli cells. So after that, these sperm, after the full development of the sperm releases from the Sertoli cells. This is known as a spermiation. And along with that, a cytoplasmic residual body, that is also discarded from the sperm, and this cytoplasmic body is engulfed by the Sertoli cells. So this is how that the sperms are produced, and these sperms are now ready to be moved towards the epididymis. So this is about the structure of the seminiferous tubule and the important developmental stages of spermatogenesis. Then what are the functions of Sertoli cells? You can see here the Sertoli cells functions by helping the sperms, or protecting the sperms from the immunogenicity, or you can say from the body's immune response, by creating blood testis barrier. We have seen that. This is also called as a Sertoli cell barrier. Then it also provides target for hormones like a follicle stimulating hormone, or FSH, because it has receptors, and this follicle stimulating hormone stimulates the we can say the Sertoli cells, and then it also secretes the antigen binding protein and inhibin. Now, the role of antigen binding protein and the inhibin we will discuss in a hormonal control of spermatogenesis. Then it also acts as a nerve cells. I have told you about that. The It also provides nutrition to the developing sperms, and that's why they are called as a nerve cells. Then it also helps in spermiation. That means for release of sperms from the Sertoli cells. Then the extra cytoplasm that is attached to the sperms, that is discarded by the sperms, and this cytoplasm is phagocytosed by the Sertoli cells during the spermiation. Then it also helps in movement of cells within the epithelium. So I have told you that the sperm mother cells then moves towards um, uh, the adluminal compartment. Adluminal compartmental cells, like spermatids or primary and secondary spermatocytes, moves towards the lumen. So like that, this it helps in the movement of the cells also, because these all these developing spermatozoa, or the various different stages of spermatozoa, they are attached with um, the cell membrane of the Sertoli cells. Then fluid secretion in a lumen for sperms transport. So the Sertoli cells are also responsible for secretion of a fluid, and that fluid helps the sperms to reach up to the epididymis, because in seminiferous tubules, the movement of the flagella is negligible, and that's why it requires a passive transport. So this fluid secretion, or this fluid helps in transport of these sperms towards the epididymis, where they mature into fully motile sperms. So these are the functions of Sertoli cells. Then blood testis barrier. As I have told you that there is a kind of barrier that is called as a blood testis barrier is present in the seminiferous tubule. That is due to the tight junctions in between the Sertoli cells, and it prevents the entry of a blood inside the seminiferous tubules, or you can say inside the lumen or adluminal compartment of the seminiferous tubule. This is for the protection of sperms, because when sperms undergo meiosis or meiosis, you will find that now it has a unique combination of genes, and because of that it produces different kinds of antigens on the surface of the sperm or the developing sperms, and because of that there is a possibility that the immune cells of the body which is producing these sperms that may attack the sperms by considering them as foreign particles. Now, to avoid this, there is a blood testis barrier in the testes. So, this blood testis barrier was named by the Chiquion in 1964, and this is the reason why sperms are not immunogenic. That is because these sperms are produced in a microenvironment inside the seminiferous tubule where the immune cells of the system or blood vascular system cannot reach. So, this is called as a blood testis barrier. Then, process of spermatogenesis. I have told you that the basement membrane of the seminiferous tubule, or we can say the near the basement membrane, various stem cells are present. These stem cells are called as the sperm mother cells, and these sperm mother cells are they have the capacity to derive, or we can say to divide into two daughter cells. One daughter cell remain as a stem cell, and another daughter cell enters in the spermatogenesis. So, by mitosis and meiosis, the this particular spermatogonial cells they develop into a spermatozoa. After that, the process of spermiogenesis that produces a simple primary spermatocyte into, sorry, simple spermatid into a spermatozoa. So that is called as a spermiogenesis. And the release of these spermatozoa from the membrane of the Sertoli cell, that is called as a spermiation. So when these spermatozoa are released from the Sertoli cells, the process is called as a spermiation. So this is the whole process of spermatogenesis. You can see here the mitosis during the spermatogenesis. So these primordial germ cells which are present near the basement membrane, they give rise to the type A1 spermatogonia, or we can say the stem cells. Now these same stem cells divide by mitosis to produce type A2 spermatogonia. These type A2 spermatogonia can renew itself and can give rise to the type A1 and type A2 spermatogonia. Then type A2 spermatogonia is converted or differentiates into type A3 spermatogonia. Again, it has a property to renew itself and can give rise to the type A2 spermatogonia also and type A3 spermatogonia. Then this type A3 spermatogonia give rise to or differentiates into type A4 spermatogonia. Now, the fate of a type A4 spermatogonia is different. We can see here it has a three options. One option is to renew itself and form a type A4 spermatogonia. It can give rise to intermediate spermatogonium to enter for the spermatogenesis, or it also can undergo apoptosis to destroy itself. So this is how that the type A4 spermatogonia differentiates. Now it differentiates into intermediate spermatogonium, and this intermediate spermatogonium is now called as a type B spermatogonium. So this is how that the mitosis that takes place in the basal compartment of a seminiferous tubule. Now this type B spermatogonia somehow squeezes through the tight junctions and enters into the adluminal compartment. Now where it differentiates into a primary spermatocyte. So this type B spermatogonium differentiates into a primary spermatocyte. Now this primary spermatocyte uh, enters into a meiotic division. The first meiotic division or meiosis 1 is a reduction division where the the chromosome complement of the primary spermatocyte is halved. Now, the primary spermatocytes have a 2n number of chromosomes, 46 chromosomes. After first meiotic division, the secondary spermatocytes have the n number of chromosomes. That means first meiotic division is a reduction division. After that, the secondary spermatocytes undergo meiosis second, and this is a simple kind of a mitotic division where the secondary spermatocytes give rise to spermatids. Now, this should be noted that while development there is a karyokinesis, but cytokinesis is incomplete. That means the cytoplasm is not separated enough. So the secondary spermatocytes and spermatids remain attached with each other via small cytoplasmic breach. So then uh, the maturation of spermatids into a spermatozoa that takes place. During this there are four stages of maturation, or we can say where the development of a spermatozoa from a spermatid is called as a spermiogenesis. And during this spermiogenesis, a small, tiny, compact spermatozoa is formed, which is a motile structure with having a flagella and residual bodies or a residual cytoplasm that is also developed or formed, and this is phagocytosed by the Sertoli cells. So this is known as a spermiogenesis. That means formation of spermatozoa from spermatid is called as a spermiogenesis. After some time, the spermatozoa are liberated from the Sertoli cells. So this liberation of a spermatozoa is called as a spermiation. So now these spermatozoa are inside the lumen and they are freely swimming um, haploid motile cells that can reach to the epididymis, and where these in the epididymis these spermatozoa are stored. So this is a meiosis that is taking place in a adluminal chamber of the or adluminal compartment of the seminiferous tubule. You can see here in a brief, you can see the spermatogenesis. The spermatogonium, that is a sperm mother cell, is present as a stem cell in near the basal membrane. Then it undergoes mitosis and to produce a primary spermatocytes. These primary spermatocytes undergo meiosis 1 to produce secondary spermatocytes. These secondary spermatocytes again undergoes meiosis II to produce spermatids. Spermatids undergoes a spermiogenesis to produce the spermatozoa. So this is the spermatogenesis. Now, what is a spermiogenesis? I have told you about that. Differentiation of a spermatid into spermatozoa is called as a spermiogenesis. It has four phases. First phase is called as a Golgi phase, where a Golgi complex is there, and this Golgi complex, the vesicles of a Golgi complex start to fuse with each other to form a proacrosome. So the formation of a proacrosome and movement of a proximal and distal centrioles, these proximal and distal centrioles towards the opposite pole, that takes place. So this is known as a Golgi phase. Then the cap phase is there. In a cap phase, there is a formation of axoneme and cap-like acrosome. So a cap-like acrosome is formed and a formation of axoneme that takes place during the cap phase. Then acrosomal phase, nucleus elongates and formation of a manchete. So this is a manchete means what? The aggregation of the mitochondria near the flagella that takes place, and this particular portion is called as a manchete. Along with that, the nucleus elongates and it is covered by the acrosome. So that's why it is called as a acrosomal phase. Then maturation phase. In case of maturation phase, there is a condensation of a nucleus. Uh, you know that the nucleus is already condensed with the help of chromatin, or we can say with the help of a histone protein. A chromatin is formed, which is already condensed form. Then during the maturation phase or during this spermiogenesis, what happens that these histone proteins are replaced by kind of protein. These are called as a transition proteins. These transition proteins are responsible for further compaction of a nucleus, and then these transition proteins are again replaced by the protamine 1 and protamine 2. So all these protamines are responsible for further compaction of the nuclear material, and this is known as a condensation of a nucleus. Then this is called as a maturation phase where mitochondria assembles around the nucleus. So this is a maturation phase. Then formation of under this maturation phase, there is a formation of a neck, there is a formation of a middle piece and tail. So this is maturation phase. Along with that, during the maturation, extra cytoplasm that is present in the spermatid, that is shaded, and this extra cytoplasm is then called as a residual body. This residual body is engulfed by the Sertoli cells, uh, and the sperms are produced. The next process is called as a spermation. That means a release of a spermatozoa, mature spermatozoa from the Sertoli cells. Now, this you can see here, the residual cytoplasm along with the spermatozoa is attached to the Sertoli cells, and after maturation, after some time, these spermatozoa are released from the Sertoli cells in a lumen of the seminiferous tubules, and then these spermatozoa are transported to the epididymis for maturation or full maturation and capacitation, so that they will be able to fertilize the ovum. But the residual cytoplasm remains attached to the Sertoli cells, and then it is phagocytosed by the Sertoli cells. So This is how that the spermiation or a release of a spermatozoa from Sertoli cells into the lumen of a seminiferous tubule that takes place. Now, this liberation of spermatozoa is called as a spermiation. Now, this process of spermiation has been a topic of research because it can control the fertility of the male. So, it can be used, or this particular process can be used for the potential site of the research for the fertility control. So, here we know that these are attached, the developing spermatozoa, or we can say the spermatids, they remain attached to the Sertoli cells with the help of certain adhesion molecules. Now, these adhesion molecules can be controlled, or the development of these adhesion molecules can be controlled with the help of certain kinds of drugs like gamandazole. In case of rat, gamandazole drug has been proved to decrease the synthesis of these adhesion molecules, and because of that, there is a premature release of the spermatozoa into seminiferous tubule. Now, if there is a premature release of a spermatozoa into the seminiferous tubule, what will happen? These particular spermatozoa will not be viable. That means they will not be able to fertilize the ovum. So naturally, we can we can say that it cannot fertilize. That means the infertility can be created with the help of these particular kind of drugs, and these drugs can be used as a contraceptive. Now, in this research is up to the rat now, but after some time, there may be possibility that certain kinds of drugs that are useful in case of humans also. So this is how that this permeation is a very important process in a control of fertility. Sperm is broadly divided into head, midpiece, and tail. The head region of the sperm comprises of acrosome, then a nucleus, and a centriole. The acrosome is nothing but a kind of a sac uh, covering almost one third of the nucleus and is present anteriorly. It contains various hydrolytic enzymes. Then the very highly compact nucleus is there. The compaction is for making the streamlined body of the sperm so that it can propel through the um, you can say the reproductive tract of the female. Then the centriole is there, which give rise to axoneme and flagella or axial filament. Then the midpiece contains uh, the mitochondria. These mitochondria are also compacted and are responsible for providing energy to the sperm. Then a tail is there. The tail is a kind of a propeller. It undulates, and with the undulations of this tail, the sperm can move forward. So the movement of a sperm is about 5 mm per minute. So you can imagine that. So the total length of the sperm is about 65 millimeter in length. About 80% of the spermatozoa are motile, and these per day the 100 million sperms are synthesized per day in case of humans, and about for one ejaculate, or in a one ejaculation, about 200 million sperms per ml are present. Now the quantity of these sperms inside the ejaculate, that is also important for fertilization. So this is how that the spermatozoa are structured. The axial filament is a standard 9 plus 2 arrangement is seen in the flagella of the sperm. So this is what spermatozoon is there. The whole spermatozoon is covered by, you can say, it is having a plasma membrane up to the tail. So this is how the structure of a sperm is there. Now we will discuss about hormonal regulation of spermatogenesis. As we know that the spermatogenesis is regulated by different hormones. The hypothalamo-hypophyseal gonadal axis is responsible for control of a spermatogenesis. And when a particular male uh, reaches up to a adult age or puberty, it produces a gonadotropin releasing hormone from a hypothalamus, and this gonadotropin releasing hormone then stimulates anterior pituitary. Now, why it is called as a tropic hormone, gonadotropic hormone? That is because whenever a tropic hormone is there, that means that hormone is responsible for stimulating another endocrine gland so that it will produce its own hormone. So that's why such a kind of hormones are called as a tropic hormones. Here in this case, hypothalamus, which is a part of a diencephalon, it produces a gonadotropin releasing hormone which stimulates anterior pituitary. Now, this anterior pituitary then is responsible for formation of a follicle stimulating hormone, that is FSH, and luteinizing hormone. This luteinizing hormone in case of male is also called as a interstitial cell stimulating hormone. Now, as the name suggests, the interstitial cells means Leydig cells. So these are present in the interstitium in between the seminiferous tubules. So that that is why it is called as a interstitial cells, or they are first discovered by or described by Leydig. That's why the name is given as Leydig cells. Now these Leydig cells which are present in the interstitium, they starts to produce testosterone under the influence of the interstitial cell stimulating hormone. Now follicle stimulating hormone is also derived from anterior pituitary or secreted by anterior pituitary, and it stimulates somatic part of the seminiferous tubule, that is called as a Sertoli cells. And these Sertoli cells, under the influence of follicle stimulating hormone, it produces inhibin, as well as it also produces a protein that is called as androgen binding protein. Follicle stimulating hormones are very essential for maturation of the spermatogonia, and follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone are required, both are required for complete spermatogenesis. So this is the importance of both of these hormones. Testosterone is also responsible for, we can say, the secondary sexual characters that appear in case of males. So this is the function of testosterone. Then what is the role of inhibin? It has been found that inhibin is controlling the anterior pituitary, or it has a negative effect or negative feedback effect on the anterior pituitary, and it controls the secretion of a follicle stimulating hormone. Similarly, testosterone is also responsible for negative feedback mechanism to control the secretion of a luteinizing hormone, or we can say the interstitial cell stimulating hormone. So, along with that, testosterone is also responsible for negatively feedback the hypothalamus to produce gonadotropin releasing hormone. So, by this negative feedback mechanism, the secretion of various kinds of hormones are controlled in this hypothalamo-hypophyseal gonadal axis. So this is all about the flow chart of regulation of spermatogenesis, and these are the hormones that are involved in a spermatogenesis regulation. See, now we will discuss about the factors which affect the spermatogenesis. The first factor, that is the position of testes in a body. If testes are not descended in a scrotal sac, the that phenomenon is called as a cryptorchidism, and in this case, the spermatogenesis is severely hampered. But this can be restored when the testes through inguinal canal again enters into the scrotum. So this is because, or this may be because, we see that the for a particular or for spermatogenesis, a particular kind of atmosphere or a microenvironment is necessary, where the temperature of that surrounding is near about 31 degree to 34 degree centigrade. Now, if the testes are present in the abdomen, this temperature is not maintained, and that's why the spermatogenesis is hampered. So, temperature of the body is very important in case of a spermatogenesis to occur very smoothly and to produce viable sperms. But it has been also found that in some cases, like monotremes, armadillos, sloths, elephants, rhinoceros, seals, dolphins, and whales, they don't have a scrotal sac. So their testes are present in the abdomen, and still they are able to produce the viable sperms. So this is about the effect of temperature on the spermatogenesis. Now, it has been found that in case of humans, the fertility is day by day, the fertility is decreasing, and the reason cited for this decreased fertility is maybe it may be because of the pesticide use in a crop, then the different types of we can say the tobacco consumption, or the nicotine consumption, we can say the smoking. So all these are the factors which affects the spermatogenesis. So these are the factors that are there which affects the spermatogenesis. So this is all about the spermatogenesis. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel Bamu's Biogenius for latest uploads, or like my videos. And if you have any queries, please write in a comment box. Thank you very much for your support.